Ambassador Sarah Chun walked through the gleaming halls of Nexus Prime Station. Her footsteps echoed against the metal walls as alien beings from across the galaxy moved past her. Some had 6 arms, others had scales that changed color, and a few floated in special suits filled with strange gases. None of them paid her any attention. Sarah had been coming to this place for 3 years now. 3 years of meetings, debates, and endless discussions that led nowhere. Today would be different. Today was the last time she would ask nicely. The great hall stretched out before her like a massive dome. 12 different alien species had representatives here, each sitting in their own special area designed for their unique needs. The Kefmoran Empire held the center position, their purple-skinned leader, High Counselor Vex Thara, sitting on a throne that seemed to be made of pure crystal. Sarah took her place at the small human podium. It looked tiny compared to the grand displays around her. The other species had brought hundreds of advisors, floating screens showing their mighty fleets and glowing symbols of their power. Sarah stood alone with just a simple tablet in her hand. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Sarah began, her voice carrying clearly through the hall sound system. I come before you today representing Earth and all of humanity with one final request. Several aliens made sounds that Sarah had learned meant laughter. The Zephyrians clicked their claws together in amusement. The gas-breathing Nethans made a whistling sound through their tubes. High Counselor Vex Thara simply smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. For 200 years, Sarah continued, humanity has been blocked from expanding beyond our solar system. We have asked for trade agreements. You have denied them. We have requested permission to establish colonies on empty worlds. You have refused. We have begged for the right to explore the stars like every other species. You have laughed at us. Because you are children playing with toys, Vex Thara interrupted, her translator making her voice sound cold and mechanical. Your species has barely learned to leave your birth planet. You think chemical rockets and nuclear weapons make you ready for the galaxy? We have ships that can cross the galaxy in days. We have weapons that can destroy stars. What could humans possibly offer that we would want? Sarah felt the familiar anger rise in her chest, but she kept her face calm. We offer friendship. We offer our unique perspective. We offer our willingness to learn and grow alongside you. The hall erupted in more laughter. A Vraxian delegate, whose body looked like a walking tree, shook his branches in what Sarah knew was extreme amusement. Learn and grow? He said through his translator. Humans, you have been in space for barely 300 years. My species has traveled between stars for over 10,000 years. What could you possibly teach us? We offer our creativity, Sarah pressed on. Our ability to solve problems in new ways. Our capacity for both great kindness and great determination when pushed too far. Determination? Vex Thara stood up from her crystal throne, her 8-foot frame towering over the hall. You speak of determination? Your entire species lives on one small world and a few pathetic colonies on nearby rocks. When we conducted our last military exercise near your system, your entire fleet of 12 ships ran back to hide behind your moon. You call this determination? The other delegates were making various sounds of agreement and amusement. Sarah could see the recording devices capturing every moment, broadcasting this across the galaxy to show how the mighty hegemony put the weak humans in their place once again. That brings me to my final point, Sarah said, her voice getting stronger. This is not a request anymore. This is a warning. Remove the embargo on human expansion. Allow us free travel and trade. Stop treating us like children who need to be kept in a nursery. Do this, or face the consequences. The laughter that followed was the loudest yet. Vex Thara actually bent forward, holding her sides as if Sarah had told the funniest joke in galactic history. When she finally stopped laughing, She wiped tears from her large purple eyes. Consequences? She gasped. From humans? Oh, little ambassador, this is wonderful. Tell me, what consequences could a species that builds ships out of metal and plastic possibly threaten us with? Are you going to throw rocks at our quantum-shielded battle cruisers? Perhaps you will attack us with your chemical explosives. We could blockade your trade routes with our 12 ships, added the Vraxian delegate, causing another wave of laughter. Or maybe they will send angry messages over their primitive radio transmissions. Sarah stood quietly as the mockery continued. In her ear, a tiny device was recording every word, every laugh, every insult. The neural implant behind her left ear was also capturing the visual data, every sneer, every dismissive gesture, every sign of their complete confidence in human weakness. We have weapons that can turn entire stars into directed energy beams, Vextara continued when the laughter died down. We have ships that exist in multiple dimensions. We have fleets that could sterilize 1,000 worlds in a single day. And you, little humans with your toy rockets, threaten us with consequences? I have delivered my message, Sarah said simply. Earth's position is clear. This was your last chance for a peaceful solution. Peaceful solution? The Kethmorn High Counselor's voice turned dangerous. Perhaps it is time the humans learn what happens to species who forget their place. We have been too kind, allowing you to play at being spacefaring. Maybe a demonstration of our power is needed. Sarah nodded slowly. You have made your choice. I will inform my government. She touched the small device in her ear and spoke clearly. Protocol 7. They chose poorly. The message was transmitted instantly across the galaxy through quantum communication networks. Most of the aliens in the room assumed it was just human posturing, sending word back to Earth about their failure. They had no idea what Protocol 7 actually meant. As Sarah walked toward the exit, Vextara called after her. Tell your leaders that if they continue this foolishness, the Hegemony Grand Fleet will pay Earth a visit. We will remind humanity of their proper place in the galaxy. Sarah stopped at the door and turned back. For just a moment, her diplomatic mask slipped, and something cold and dangerous flashed in her human eyes. High Counselor, I sincerely hope you reconsider. What happens next could have been avoided. Then she was gone, leaving behind a hall full of aliens who were already planning how to make an example of the uppity humans. None of them noticed that every security camera in the station had been subtly hacked during Sarah's speech. None of them realized that their private communications about fleet movements and military strategies had been intercepted. Deep in space, invisible ships received Sarah's transmission and began moving toward positions that had been planned for over 2 centuries. The greatest deception in galactic history was about to be revealed, and Earth's final warning would prove to be exactly that, the last chance for peace that the galaxy would receive. Dr. Marcus Webb stood in the command center, 3 miles beneath the Pacific Ocean. The massive room was carved from solid rock and lined with metal that could withstand a direct nuclear blast. Hundreds of screens showed data from across the solar system, and thousands of people worked at stations that monitored everything from asteroid movements to alien communication signals. This was the real heart of human space operations, not the small, visible facilities on the moon that aliens occasionally spied on, not the obvious research stations orbiting Earth that were designed to look primitive. This was where humanity had been planning and building for 200 years. President Legas appeared on the main screen, calling in from the emergency bunker in Colorado. Her face was tense but determined. Dr. Webb, Ambassador Chun's message, came through 20 minutes ago. Protocol 7 is active. Are we ready? Marcus looked around the command center. Every person at every station was working with quiet efficiency. No panic, no rushing. They had all known this day would come eventually. We've been ready for 50 years, Madam President. The question is whether the alien fleets are ready for what's about to happen to them. On the screens around them, the true scope of human technology became visible. Ships that had been hiding in the asteroid belt powered up their real engines. Stations that looked like space junk began transforming into weapon platforms. Colonies that aliens thought were struggling settlements revealed themselves to be advanced military bases. "Show her the fleet status," Marcus ordered. The main display changed to show the Sol system, but not as any alien had ever seen it. Thousands of ships appeared on the screen, each one marked with capabilities that would have seemed impossible to outside observers. Ships that could fold space around them, weapons that could manipulate gravity itself, and defensive systems that existed partially outside normal reality. "My God," President Lagos whispered. "Even I didn't know we had built so many." "The Titan shipyards have been working non-stop for decades," Marcus explained. "Every failed mining mission, every lost exploration ship, every piece of space junk that drifted out of the system, they were all cover for building the real fleet." Captain Elena Vasquez stepped forward. She was tall and lean, with the calm confidence of someone who had trained for this moment her entire life. "Dr. Webb, the Indomitable is ready to begin first contact procedures. The Void Walker systems are functioning perfectly." "Good. Remember, Elena, this first engagement is about sending a message. We want them to understand that they made a serious mistake, but we also want them to tell others what they witnessed. Make it dramatic." Elena smiled. "Oh, it will be dramatic. The whole galaxy is about to learn that humans don't make idle threats." The president looked confused. "Void Walker systems? What exactly have you built out there?" Marcus gestured to another screen that showed technical specifications. "Madam President, while the aliens thought they were keeping us trapped in our solar system, we were actually using that time to solve problems they never even thought about. They have faster than light travel, but they still move through normal space-time. We learned to step outside space-time entirely. Our ships can exist in what we call void space," Elena added. "We can move through dimensions that aliens don't even know exist. To their sensors, we simply disappear. But we can observe them, track them, and strike from directions they can't predict or defend against." The screen showed a simulation of how this worked. A human ship would fade out of normal reality, move through void space, and reappear anywhere it wanted. To enemies, it would look like teleportation, but it was actually movement through dimensions that existed parallel to normal space. "The Indomitable is our first-generation Void Walker," Marcus continued. "We've been testing them in secret for 20 years. The aliens have never detected one, even when we've been sitting right next to their ships observing them." President Lagos was starting to understand. "You're saying we've been spying on them this whole time?" "More than spying. Every alien military exercise, every new weapon test, every strategic meeting, we've been watching and learning. We know their fleet compositions, their tactical doctrines, their command structures. We even know which of their commanders are most likely to make poor decisions under pressure." Another officer approached with a data pad. "Dr. Webb, long-range sensors are detecting movement in the Kethmoran territories. It looks like they're assembling the Grand Fleet." Marcus nodded. "How many ships?" "Approximately 12,000 vessels, sir. Multiple species contributing their best ships and crews. Intelligence suggests they want to make this a public demonstration of what happens to species that defy the hegemony." "Perfect," Elena said. "The bigger the fleet, the more impressive the demonstration will be when they realize they're completely outmatched." President Lagos looked worried. 12,000 ships against how many of ours?" "Numbers don't matter when you can control the battlefield," Marcus replied. "The aliens think in terms of traditional space combat, formations, firepower, shields. They don't understand that we've changed the fundamental rules of engagement. The main screen switched to show archived footage from alien military exercises. Their ships moved in predictable patterns, relied on energy shields that could be overwhelmed with enough firepower, and used weapons that traveled through normal space at the speed of light. "Watch this," Elena said, as the screen showed a human ship engaging in a training exercise. The ship seemed to flicker in and out of existence, appearing behind, above, and inside the formation of target drones. Its weapons didn't fire energy beams or projectiles. They simply made the targets stop existing on a quantum level. "Our weapons don't destroy ships in the traditional sense," Marcus explained. "They disconnect matter from the quantum field that holds it together. The target doesn't explode. It just ceases to be part of reality. But the real advantage isn't our technology," Elena added. "It's our psychology. For 200 years, humans have been planning for this fight while aliens have been getting comfortable and overconfident. They see us as weak children. We see them as targets we've been studying for centuries." The president was quiet for a moment, processing what she was learning. "And you're confident we can win?" Marcus smiled grimly. "Madam President, winning isn't the question. The question is how much mercy we show them after they surrender. This won't be a battle. It will be a lesson in why you should never underestimate humanity." An alarm sounded, and the main screen switched to long-range scanners. "Sir," called an officer, "the alien Grand Fleet is moving toward our system. Estimated arrival in 6 hours." "Excellent. Elena, take the Indomitable out to meet them. Remember, we want survivors who can report back about what they witnessed. The goal isn't just to defeat this fleet. It's to make sure every alien species in the galaxy knows exactly what happens when you threaten Earth." Elena saluted. "Understood, sir." One demonstration of human capabilities, with enough survivors left to spread the word. As she headed toward the launch bay, Marcus turned back to the president. "Madam President, I recommend you address the nation. Tell them that our long period of isolation is about to end. The galaxy thought they were keeping humanity trapped. What they actually did was give us 2 centuries to become something they can't handle." The screens around them showed human ships beginning to move throughout the solar system, taking positions that have been planned decades in advance. Hidden bases revealed themselves, weapons platforms came online, and the true scope of human preparation became clear. The aliens were about to learn that their greatest mistake wasn't threatening Earth. Their greatest mistake was giving humanity 200 years to prepare for this moment. Admiral Karth stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, watching the pathetic human solar system grow larger on the main screen. Behind him stretched the might of the Hegemony Grand Fleet, 12,000 ships from 12 different species, all united in teaching these upstart humans a lesson they would never forget. "Admiral," called his sensor officer, "we have entered the outer edge of the human system. No sign of their fleet. Long-range scans show only the usual civilian traffic and mining operations." Korath made a sound of disgust. "Cowards. They probably fled to hide behind their moon again when they detected our approach." He activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All ships, maintain formation. We will broadcast our surrender demand from maximum sensor range. Let the humans see the full scope of what they face." The bridge crew was relaxed and confident. This was supposed to be more of a parade than a battle. The humans had maybe 20 ships total, most of them converted civilian vessels with primitive weapons. The Grand Fleet had come expecting to destroy them all in the first few minutes, then spend the rest of the day deciding what to do with Earth itself. "Open all communication channels," Karth ordered. "Let me speak to the entire human system." When the communications officer nodded, Karth began his prepared speech. "Humans of Earth, This is Admiral Korath of the Hegemony Grand Fleet. You see before you 12,000 ships representing the combined might of the civilized galaxy. Your pathetic world has 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. Prepare for occupation, or be destroyed as an example to others who would defy the natural order. The response came faster than anyone expected, but not from Earth. Instead, a voice crackled through space from somewhere near Jupiter. Admiral Korath, this is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Terran Defense Corps. You have entered our star system without permission and threatened our homeworld. You have 30 minutes to withdraw beyond the heliopause, or we will consider your presence an act of war. The bridge of the Eternal Dominion fell silent for a moment, then erupted in laughter. The sensor officer was checking his instruments frantically. Sir, I'm not detecting any ships in that area. The transmission seems to be coming from empty space. Captain Vasquez, Korath replied, still chuckling. I am looking at 12,000 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy. Exactly how many ships do you have to threaten us with? Today? Just one. The laughter on the bridge grew louder. One ship against 12,000? Even if the humans had somehow built a massive battleship in secret, the odds were ridiculous. Sensor sweep of the Jupiter area, Korath ordered. Find me this brave fool so we can vaporize her and get on with the occupation. The sensors showed nothing. Empty space, a few asteroids, the normal radiation patterns around Jupiter. No ship, no energy signatures, no trace of anything that could be transmitting. Sir, the communications officer said nervously, the transmission is definitely coming from that area. But there's nothing there. Captain Vasquez, Korath broadcast. I don't know what kind of trick you're playing, but you have wasted enough of our time. Surrender now, or watch your homeworld burn. 28 minutes remaining, came the calm reply. Korath's patience snapped. Squadron 7, advance to the Jupiter area. Find this ghost ship and destroy it. Let's end this charade. A full squadron of heavy cruisers, 50 ships armed with enough firepower to level continents, broke formation and accelerated toward Jupiter. Their weapons charged as they approached the source of the transmission. Sir, called the squadron leader, we're in position, but sensors still show nothing. No ships, no stations, no debris fields large enough to hide a vessel. Fire on the transmission source, Korath ordered. Whatever trickery they're using, plasma cannons will end it. The 50 ships opened fire simultaneously. Energy beams that could cut through planetary crust lanced out toward empty space. For a moment, the area around Jupiter lit up like a small sun as enough energy to destroy a city was poured into seemingly nothing. When the light faded, the transmission came again. Is that your best effort? Because if so, you're even more pathetic than we thought. Suddenly, the Indomitable materialized directly behind the alien squadron. It simply appeared, as if it had stepped out of a place where reality didn't apply. The human ship was sleek and dark, about the size of a heavy cruiser but designed with curves and angles that seemed to bend light around them. Impossible, breathed the sensor officer. Ships can't just appear like that. Where did it come from? The answer came in the form of action rather than words. The Indomitable's weapons fired, but they weren't like anything in the alien experience. Instead of energy beams or projectiles, reality itself seemed to fold around the targeted alien ships. The vessels didn't explode or burn. They simply stopped existing, as if they had been carefully edited out of the universe. In the space of 30 seconds, the entire alien squadron was gone. Not destroyed, not damaged, gone. Where 50 ships had been, there was now only empty space and a few drifting particles that had once been part of their hulls. Squadron 7, report, Korath called frantically. Squadron 7, respond immediately. Silence. Captain Vasquez's voice came through the communication system again, as calm as before. 27 minutes remaining. I suggest you use that time to reconsider your position. The bridge of the Eternal Dominion was chaos. Officers were shouting readings, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. The fleet commanders from other ships were demanding explanations over the communication channels. "How many ships do the humans have hidden?" demanded the Vraxian commander. "Where are they hiding them?" asked the Kethmoran admiral. "What kind of weapons can simply make ships disappear?" shouted the Zephyrian fleet leader. Korath stared at the empty space where Squadron 7 had been. In his 40 years of military service, he had never seen anything like it. Ships could be destroyed, yes, but this was different. It was as if the human vessel had simply decided that the alien ship shouldn't exist anymore, and reality had agreed. "All ships, spread formation," he ordered. "Wide dispersal pattern. Whatever weapon they're using, we won't give them concentrated targets." The Grand Fleet began to spread out across the outer solar system, but the Indomitable had already vanished again. Sensor sweeps found nothing, but everyone knew it was still out there somewhere. "Sir," called the communications officer, "we're receiving a wideband transmission. It's audio recordings. Play it." The bridge speakers filled with the sound of alien laughter. It was the recording from the Galactic Council session, where the alien delegates had mocked Ambassador Chen's warning. High Counselor Vexthora's voice rang out clearly. "Consequences? From humans? What consequences could a species that builds ships out of metal and plastic possibly threaten us with?" Then came Captain Vasquez's voice, speaking over the recording. "You asked what consequences humans could threaten you with. You're about to find out." 25 minutes remaining. Admiral Korath felt something he hadn't experienced in decades. Fear. Real, genuine fear that his fleet might not be as superior as he had always believed. The humans weren't acting like primitives facing impossible odds. They were acting like predators who had been given exactly what they wanted. Prey that had walked directly into their trap dot around the solar system. 11,950 alien ships waited nervously for an enemy they couldn't see, armed with weapons they couldn't understand, facing a species they realized they might never have understood at all. The Indomitable moved through void space like a shark through dark water. Captain Elena Vasquez watched the alien fleet spread out across her solar system, trying to make themselves harder targets. They didn't understand that in void space, distance meant nothing. She could appear next to any ship in their fleet whenever she chose. "Ma'am," called her tactical officer, "the alien fleet has broken into smaller groups. Looks like they're trying to search for us systematically." Elena smiled coldly. "Perfect. When prey spreads out, it becomes easier to hunt." She studied the display showing the alien positions. "Let's give them a lesson in human tactics. Target the command ships first, the ones coordinating the search patterns." The Indomitable slipped back into normal space directly underneath a Kethmoran battlecruiser. Before the alien ship's sensors could even register the human vessel's presence, reality folded around the cruiser's command section. The bridge and upper decks simply ceased to exist, leaving the rest of the ship drifting powerlessly. "1," Elena counted calmly. She shifted back into void space and moved to the next target. A Vraxian destroyer that was trying to coordinate with nearby ships found itself missing its entire weapons array in the span of a heartbeat. The ship was still there, still functional, but completely helpless. 2. By the time Admiral Korath what was happening, 6 of his command vessels had been surgically disabled. The human ship wasn't trying to destroy the entire fleet quickly. It was methodically removing their ability to coordinate and fight effectively. "All ships, emergency maneuvers," Korath broadcast. "Random flight patterns. Don't maintain course for more than 30 seconds. Don't group together." But the Indomitable was already adapting. Elena had studied alien tactical doctrine for years. She knew how they would react under pressure, knew their training would make them predictable even when they were trying to be random. "They're moving like a school of fish," she observed. "Scatter when threatened, but always try to regroup. Let's break that instinct." The next phase of the hunt was psychological warfare. Instead of destroying ships, Elena began targeting their sensor arrays and communication equipment. One by one, alien vessels found themselves blind and deaf, cut off from their fleet and unable to see the enemy that was stalking them. The effect on morale was devastating. Alien crews who had entered the system confident in their technological superiority were now jumping at shadows, firing at empty space, and sending panicked messages to ships that could no longer hear them. "Sir," reported Korath's sensor officer, his voice shaking, "we've lost contact with 47 ships. They're still on our screens, but they're not responding to communications. Are they destroyed?" "No, sir. They appear to be intact, but helpless. Whatever the humans did to them, it's like they've been surgically paralyzed." Commander Zefter, Korath's second-in-command, stepped closer to the admiral. "Sir, with respect, we need to consider the possibility that we've severely underestimated human capabilities." "Underestimated?" Korath snapped. "They have one ship against our entire fleet." "One ship? One ship that can appear and disappear at will, can disable our vessels without destroying them, and seems to know exactly how we're going to react to everything we try." Zefter pulled up tactical data on his personal screen. "Look at these attack patterns. They're not random. The humans have been studying our doctrine, our training, our standard responses. This isn't lucky improvisation. This is a carefully planned campaign." As if to prove his point, the Indomitable materialized directly in front of the Eternal Dominion's main viewport. For a moment, the two ships faced each other across a few hundred meters of space. The human vessel was smaller, but there was something predatory about its design. Something that made it look like it belonged in the darkness. Between stars, Elena's voice came through the communication system, personal and direct. "Admiral Korath, you have 15 minutes remaining. I wanted you to see me clearly so you understand that this isn't some trick or illusion. This is one human ship, and it's systematically dismantling your entire fleet." "Impossible," Korath growled. "Fire everything we have at that ship. All weapons, maximum power." The Eternal Dominion's massive weapon arrays swiveled toward the Indomitable and fired. Energy beams that could crack a moon's surface lanced out across the short distance between the ships. For a moment, space was filled with enough destructive force to sterilize a planet. When the energy faded, the Indomitable was gone. Korath's flagship had scored a direct hit on empty space. "Behind you," Elena's voice said calmly. The human ship was now directly behind the Eternal Dominion, so close that the alien vessel's own weapons couldn't target it. But instead of attacking, Elena just waited. 12 minutes, she said. "And since you seem to enjoy shooting at things, let me give you some better targets." Suddenly, space around the alien fleet filled with new contacts. Not ships, but recordings. Holographic projections showing scenes from the Galactic Council chamber where the alien delegates had mocked humanity. High Counselor Vexthar's laughter echoed across the communication channels. The Vraxian delegate's dismissive gestures played out in three-dimensional light near his own fleet. "You asked what humans could possibly threaten you with," Elena broadcast to the entire alien fleet. "You laughed at our primitive weapons and crude technology. Would you like to see some more of our toys?" The Indomitable began to demonstrate capabilities that defied alien understanding of physics. It duplicated itself, appearing to be in dozens of places at once. It phased partially into normal space, becoming translucent and impossible to target effectively. It fired weapons that curved through space-time, striking targets from directions that shouldn't have existed. But the most terrifying demonstration wasn't technological. It was tactical. Elena began calling out alien fleet movements before they happened. She would announce that a specific ship was about to change course, and 30 seconds later, it would. She predicted weapon firing patterns, communication attempts, even which commanders were about to make desperate decisions. How? Zefta whispered, staring at his tactical display. How can they know what we're going to do before we do it? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Webb's voice joined the communication from Earth. Commander, you've been asking the wrong question. You keep wondering how we can do these things. The real question is, how long have we been watching you do the same things over and over again? The display screens throughout the alien fleet suddenly lit up with surveillance footage. Recordings of alien military exercises from the past 50 years. Detailed analysis of their tactical doctrines. Psychological profiles of their commanders. Technical specifications of their weapons and defenses. For 200 years, Webb continued, you thought you were keeping us contained. What you actually did was give us 2 centuries to study you. Every military exercise, every weapon test, every strategic meeting, we were watching, learning, preparing. Admiral Korath felt his confidence cracking like ice under pressure. This is impossible. Our security protocols, our encrypted communications, our classified facilities. We're about as secure as leaving your plans written on a wall, Elena said, her voice carrying a note of amusement. Did you really think a species that could build interstellar spacecraft couldn't figure out how to hack your networks? 10 minutes remaining, she continued. But I think it's time you understood something important. This isn't a battle, Admiral. Battles happen between forces that have a chance of winning. This is a demonstration. We're showing you what happens when you threaten Earth after we've spent 2 centuries preparing for exactly this moment. Around the fleet, more alien ships found their systems mysteriously failing. Not destroyed, not exploded. Just stopped. Weapons that wouldn't fire. Engines that wouldn't start. Communication systems that played only recordings of their own mocking laughter from the council session. 8 minutes, Elena announced. I really hope some of you survived this to tell the rest of the galaxy what you learned here today. The greatest military force in galactic history was being systematically humbled by a single human ship. And every alien in the fleet was beginning to realize that their understanding of human capabilities had been catastrophically wrong. Admiral Korath watched his fleet's tactical display with growing horror. Of the 12,000 ships that had entered the human system, fewer than 3,000 still showed full operational status. The rest were either drifting helplessly with disabled systems, completely destroyed, or worst of all, simply missing from sensors entirely. Sir, his communications officer called out, voice tight with fear. Long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures approaching from the outer system. Something big is coming. More human ships? Sir, I don't think ships is the right word anymore. The main display switched to show the space beyond Pluto. What approached defied easy description. Massive structures that seemed to bend light around themselves. Vessels the size of small moons that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, and at the center of it all, something that looked more like a living creature than a spacecraft. Dear gods, whispered Commander Zeftar. How many ships are there? Elena's voice cut through their shock. Time's up, Admiral. I'd like you to meet my friends. The approaching human fleet spread across the outer system like a dark tide. Each ship was unique, built with technology that seemed to ignore the normal rules of physics. Some appeared to be made of crystallized space-time itself. Others flickered between existing and not existing. A few looked like they were swimming through space rather than flying. Admiral Korath, came a new voice. Older and more authoritative than Elena's, This is Admiral Elena Vasquez of the Terran Defense Fleet. Yes, the same Vasquez you've been talking to. Captain Elena was my daughter. The implications hit Karth like a physical blow. If the captain who had been systematically destroying his fleet was just one member of a military family, you're looking at the real human space fleet, Admiral Vasquez continued. 4,700 ships, each one equipped with technology your species won't understand for another 1,000 years. We could have destroyed every vessel in your fleet while you were still in transit to our system. We chose not to. The massive flagship at the center of the human formation began to transmit detailed scans of the alien fleet. The display showed that every alien ship had been targeted by multiple human vessels. Weapons that could have eliminated them instantly had been aimed and ready, but held back. We wanted you to understand, Admiral Vasquez explained, that this was never a battle. This was a choice. You could have left our system when we asked nicely. You could have reconsidered when we gave you a final warning. You chose mockery and threats instead. Counselor Vexthar's voice crackled over the communication system from her disabled command ship. This is impossible. Our intelligence services monitor every human activity. We know about your mining operations, your research stations, your pathetic colonial efforts. Where did this fleet come from? Admiral Vasquez laughed, and it wasn't a pleasant sound. Counselor, your intelligence services have been watching exactly what we wanted them to see. Every failed human expedition that your people destroyed was actually a reconnaissance mission. Every primitive human colony was a forward observation post. Every piece of space junk that drifted out of our system was actually a stealth probe mapping your territories. The main human flagship began, broadcasting a stream of data that made the alien commander's blood run cold. Detailed maps of every hegemony world. Complete technical specifications of alien weapons and defenses, personal files on military commanders. Even recordings of classified strategic planning sessions. We know which of your worlds produce your most advanced technology, Admiral Vasquez continued. We know the locations of your secret military bases. We know your supply routes, your defensive capabilities, your political weaknesses. We've been preparing for this war while you thought you were preventing it. War? Admiral Karth found his voice. You speak of war, but you're just one species against 12. Our combined fleets number in the hundreds of thousands. Your fleets that are scattered across 1,000 systems, defending worlds we've already mapped and studied. Your fleets that use technology we've been countering for decades. Your fleets that follow tactical doctrines we've been analyzing since before your current commanders were born. The display showed a galaxy-wide map with human positions marked. Not the few colonies that aliens knew about, but hundreds of hidden bases, observation posts, and shipyards scattered throughout hegemony space. We've been living among you for 50 years, Admiral Vasquez revealed. Human agents on your worlds, human observers in your fleets, human technicians working on your most secret projects. Did you really think a species capable of interstellar travel couldn't figure out how to disguise ourselves as aliens? Commander Zefter was frantically checking his own ship's personnel files. Sir, according to this data, 3 members of our crew have been human agents for over a decade. Don't bother looking for them, Admiral Vasquez said. They were evacuated yesterday, before your fleet departed. We don't leave our people behind. The psychological impact was devastating. The alien fleet commanders were realizing that everything they thought they knew about humanity was wrong. The weak, primitive species they had been containing was actually the most sophisticated intelligence operation in galactic history. The why? Vexthara demanded. Why reveal yourselves now? Why not continue your deception? Because came a new voice that made every alien in the system freeze in recognition. It was Ambassador Sarah Chun, speaking from the human flagship. You forced our hand when you threatened to make an example of Earth. We were content to watch and prepare. You decided to escalate to threats of genocide. We offered you peace, she continued. We offered you friendship. We offered you partnership. You responded with mockery and threats. So now you get to see what humans are really like when we stop asking nicely. The alien fleet was surrounded now, human ships positioned at every possible escape route. But instead of closing in for the kill, they simply waited. Here's what's going to happen, Admiral Vasquez announced. You're going to return to hegemony space and deliver a message. The embargo on humanity is over. The treatment of humans as primitive children is finished. We are taking our place in galactic civilization, whether you like it or not. And if we refuse? Korath asked. Admiral, you've seen what one of our ships could do to your entire fleet. You've seen the scope of our real capabilities. Do you really want to find out what happens when we stop holding back? The display showed projections of human military capabilities. Weapons that could destabilize stars. Ships that could exist in dozens of dimensions simultaneously. Defensive systems that could protect entire solar systems. The technology gap wasn't just significant, it was incomprehensible. But, Sarah Chun's voice added, we prefer not to use those capabilities. We still want peace. We still want cooperation. We still believe the galaxy is better when species work together instead of fighting. So you have a choice, Admiral Vasquez concluded. Return to your governments and tell them that humanity is ready to join galactic civilization as equals, not subjects. Or continue trying to treat us as primitives. And learn exactly how wrong you've been about us. Admiral. Korath looked around his bridge at crew members who were staring at displays. That showed the complete helplessness of their situation. The greatest military force in galactic history had been outmaneuvered, outfought, and outsmarted by a species they had dismissed as children playing with toys. We surrender, he said quietly. No, Elena Vasquez replied. You withdraw. Surrender implies we were at war. We weren't. This was just a misunderstanding that we've now cleared up. The question is whether the rest of the galaxy learns from your experience or decides to repeat your mistakes. As the shattered remains of the alien fleet began to limp toward the edge of the solar system, human ships escorted them safely to the heliopause. There were no further attacks, no final demonstrations of superior firepower. The humans had made their point. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest deception hadn't been hiding their technology. It had been hiding their mercy. They could have ended this conflict before it started. Instead, they had chosen to give their enemies every possible chance to avoid it. But now the galaxy would know. When humans gave a final warning, it really was final. And the consequences of ignoring it were beyond anything the galaxy had imagined possible.